Hi, Dayton. Welcome to another episode of Like It Is, Dayton. I am your host, Shenise Turner-Sloss. I am excited to be here this evening. We have a wonderful guest, if you will, just talent and commitment to the city of Dayton. And so I'm very excited to have the number of guests that we have on this evening. So as you all know, we're coming to the primary election. We're 12 days away from the primary election, which of course will take place on Tuesday, May the 4th. If you have not cast your vote, there is still time to do so. You can cast your vote early at the Board of Montgomery County Board of Elections. So cast your vote at 451 West 3rd Street. Again, cast your vote at Montgomery County's Board of Elections. And we hope that everyone is excited and just thrilled about participating in the democratic process and casting their vote. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started. As you know, that our campaign platform is centered around making Dayton a better place for each and every one of us. And so we have three main platform points, and that is rebuilding healthy Dayton neighborhoods, strengthening business relationships, and putting our residents first. So today we're going to talk just about that, strengthening our business relationships. So again, let me first introduce our guest, Miss Juanita Darden. Please come on in, Miss Juanita.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hello, thank you for joining us. Please introduce.
Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Introduce yourself to everyone, which they probably already know. But again, give you the opportunity to do so. Third Perk in the house.
Third Perk is in the house. I am Juanita Michelle. I am the owner of Third Perk Coffee House and Wine Bar and Third Perk Express. We are currently operating two locations, one at 146 East 3rd Street in beautiful downtown Dayton. We operate a cafe in the Dayton Mall, right outside of Macy's doors on the first floor. And we are soon to operate at the Gem City Market, the community-led grocery store. We will be the cafe inside. We're super excited about being in the west side of Dayton, because that was our initial mission, to be a part of the west side of Dayton. So we're excited to be back home. So yay.
Yes, thank you, Juanita. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And next we have Natalie Skilliter. Please come on in. She is from Corner Kitchen, and she's also the president of the Oregon District Business Association. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So please introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you.
Sure. My husband and I opened Corner Kitchen in 2015 in the Oregon District.
Yes.
And we're temporarily closed, but we will reopen.
Yes.
And I'm also the president of the Oregon District Business Association, so I've been really involved with that organization for the last 5 years or so as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you again. I really appreciate you being here. And next we have Miss Jasmine Brown, CEO of Delish. Did you bring me some soul rolls?
See, everybody always asks me that.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes. Tell everyone a little bit about you. Another one. Everyone know you as well. They know you are.
Okay. So I am Jasmine Brown. I am the former owner of Delish Cafe. We used to be located at 138 139. Sorry, that's my building on 3rd Street. 139 East 3rd Street. I have a food truck now, which is this is my first season, full season of a food truck season. And then I also just signed a new lease for the new food hall in Wright Dunbar, which is on the corner of 3rd and Williams. It will be open possibly around July, August. That's the tentative date right now. There's about 6 to 7 food, coffee vendors, and there's also a wine bar, alcohol bar in the middle as well. So we'll be doing that this summer and really just kind of getting back into real estate. So that's Jasmine Brown.
All right, great. Thank you. Again, I'm so glad that you're with us.
Thank
so
you.
next we have, yes, of course, Ms. B. Ramsey, and she is the owner of Puff AP. For sure, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
yeah.
B.
No, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm B. Ramsey. I'm the owner of Puff Apothecary. We are a natural hair boutique and salon. We opened in 2017, originally as just a retail boutique selling products from Black-owned businesses across the country, focused on natural hair that were plant-based. But quickly we realized there was a demand for salon services. So I had built relationships. I was so fortunate. My amazing team, Dana, Jackie, and now Asha, which we just added a new stylist. And so we're actually at 605 East 5th Street in the Oregon District. And yeah, we're just really happy to be open and running and doing what we do. So.
Yes, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So certainly last but not least, hopefully Sister Regina Johnson will join us this evening from LadyBug Services. But we're going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Tremayne. Come on in, Mr. Anderson.
Hello, how's everyone doing this evening?
You're not threatened by all the ladies, are you?
Not at all.
Okay, all right.
I welcome the company. How are you guys doing?
Yes. So please tell everyone about yourself, Mr. Tremayne Anderson. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Tremayne Anderson. I am the president of the Be Love Foundation and the principal consultant for TDA Enterprise, which happens to be a subsidiary of Be Love Foundation. Basically, what we do, we provide occupational empowerment by way of personal, professional, and workforce development for individuals in transition. So we're currently operating out of Dayton, Ohio, as well as Nashville, Tennessee, with the same purpose.
Yes. You're representing today, right?
I'm sorry.
You see, I'm representing today, right?
I see that. Yes, indeed. HBCU, not my colors, but nevertheless, I'll still represent Tennessee with you. Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you all again. I want to again extend my gratitude and your appreciation for you being here. So our conversation is very fluid. I've shared with past guests, and the audience know that we are not scripted by any means. We're just having living room talk conversation, and we want to talk about the opportunities and the challenges of being an entrepreneur and having a small business, and how do we look at those barriers to move them and essentially eliminate those barriers that are currently in place, so that we can have others to have into the works of entrepreneurship and growing their own and developing their own small business. So can you all speak, and please, anyone chime in, just speak about your experience and just let everyone know that if in fact you were met with any challenges, or if it was, other small business owners, were they welcoming to you and really kind of took you by the hand and told you and showed you the ropes, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
That was a mouthful, please.
I'll be the first.
This is Juanita. Oh,
Right
sorry.
No, you're fine.
Well, what I was going to say is one of the things that helped me overcome challenges was creating a business plan in the beginning. I still refer back to that business plan, and I always talk about the importance of a business plan. I know many successful entrepreneurs who have never even wrote anything down, and they're very much successful. But for me, that helped me to foresee certain challenges. So I always stress the importance of writing a business plan and using the local resources to help you put that plan together, and different consultants. A lot of the services, which are actually free here in the city of Dayton with the Small Business Development Center. So I always stress to entrepreneurs who are starting up to seek that counsel, just so that they can avoid different pitfalls.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Mr. Tremayne, I believe you wanted to weigh in on that.
Yes, indeed. I had a comment that I wanted to share. Myself as a business owner, this is actually my second stint in entrepreneurship. I haven't been in the industry for 20 plus years, but I've come to find that in a lot of cases, and to some degree, this exists, more in our race than others, but we have to show ourselves approved. So even if we come with, an idea, that may be second to none, it may be exclusive, to what our passion is, we still have to, be able to, show and prove, that this is something that we're passionate of. We have the wherewithal to be able to facilitate, said services before we will find ourselves privy to all of the resources and support, that's readily available, So it's almost like we have to make certain we got some skin in the game, we do our, our groundwork, our legwork, and then once we've arrived at that brick wall, so to speak, that's when, okay, they're going to measure our performance up to this point, and now, support will be rendered.
Okay. So I'm curious, Natalie, like going into a whole other different sector in terms of small business, you were in the restaurant business, and can you speak to like some of how did you get started first and foremost? Did you create this business plan? And definitely, Jasmine, I want you to weigh on this as well, because you both are in the food industry, and I want you to talk about your experiences and if you had to, in fact, create that business plan, and how long did it take? And so please.
So my husband and I worked in different markets, and when we moved back to Ohio, we wanted to start our own restaurant. So we always knew that. But it took a long time for us to find the right spot. We found some turnkey restaurants for sale in the suburbs. And we got really close to a couple deals, but they both fell through. And when they did, we were really grateful, because it allowed us to refocus and think where do we want to be? And we knew the choice was it was never we wanted to be in the suburbs. We always wanted to be downtown. We believe downtown is the heart and soul of a community. Absolutely. And a strong downtown is a strong community. So we looked at some spaces, and it took us about 9 months to get the financing, and then it took us another 9 months to do the construction. Okay. And I also needed an advocate all along the way, because I was not taken terribly seriously when I was going to get financing and then for the construction piece. So I found I got connected through contacts to a man at Citywide, and he was kind of my guardian angel. And he was an older white man, and he shepherded me through the process. And I don't think we would have been where we are if I had not had him. He would come and he would go to bank meetings with us. Oh, and I remember the banker would be like, "And why are you here?" to him. And he was like, I believe in them, and I believe in their project. And, Citywide is going to help financially with whatever the gap is. And he validated us. And I had the same. And then once I got the funding, I decided to we didn't have a ton of money, so I did as much as we could on our own. So we did all of our own permitting with the city, and same thing happened. I got connected through my landlord to a gentleman who used to work for the city, who used to work in permitting. And he helped shepherd me through the process. And again, if it weren't for him introducing me and forcing meetings and things like that, I don't know if I'd be where I am. So like all along the way, like, yeah, we had a plan, we had a vision, we had a dream, but we had advocates who kind of helped shepherd like the big chunks of the process. So that was my experience. Like working with the city was the permitting. It was not easy, but it wasn't. It was kind of straightforward. And you know, like at the end of the day, the city, I think, you know, they want everybody to be safe. These building codes are in place to be safe and protect people. So you have to jump through hurdles, but you know, if it weren't for the gentleman that we worked with, I think it would have been a lot more difficult.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So I wanted to pull on that thread just a little bit in terms of permitting. And if in fact, your experience, Jasmine, did you find that you had similar experience with having a coach and guide through the process?
For us, I think we did our business came about. It was not my passion to own a restaurant. It wasn't my husband's per se passion in the beginning. Honestly, we were about to move to Columbus and my kids, they were not re-enrolled in school. It was the end of the school year and my husband had just came home and he said, hey, one of his friend's sisters was moving home from California. She was a chef and they thought about opening up a restaurant. And what do you think about the idea? And I was like, initially, no. I said no. I never worked in fast food before, any type of food service. So I was like, no, that's not something I want to do. So he asked probably 2 or 3 more times for 2 weeks straight. And I realized he was really serious about this. So I don't know how I came across the Downtown Dayton partnership, but I came across their website and I did the site seeker program.
Okay.
And I got to visit, I think like maybe 6 or 7 different places. There was one place that I absolutely fell in love with. It just wasn't conducive to what we were trying to do. It was like entirely too big. We started looking in June. We found the location at the end of July. We signed our lease at the end of July and we opened in December. When I say it was just a whirlwind, we did not have a business plan. That is one thing I would suggest, like Juanita said, to everyone, to make sure you have a business plan. Just to refer back to it and to see where you're making progress or where you're not making progress. This time different, you know, it's different. Me with the food hall, it's like, hey, I have a business plan. I have goals I need to reach. I have, you know, I know a lot more. Everything I learned from the restaurant industry, I learned from the day that I very first started at Delish. I had no knowledge of restaurant, anything besides coming in, ordering food, and eating food. That was it. So we didn't have like a coach that was like, you know, hey, do this, that. Initially, when we set up some things, the young lady who was my former business partner, she was there from the beginning we opened in December. She was gone by March.
Okay.
And it didn't work out. It was just not a good relationship. And so by June, before our first year anniversary, it was just myself and my husband. So everything was really just you learn. And then along the way, I had, you know, different people who, you know, came in and helped. The community was by far amazing. I can honestly say that the community, they came in and supported us early on extremely well. You know, they were a big help and a big driving force, like to let you know that you're doing something right. In the food industry, you know, everything is instant. You get instant gratification. If you're walking out into your dining room and you're seeing someone eat food, you know if they like it or if you know that if they don't like it instantly. So it's a different kind of rush for us restaurant people. And I've grown to enjoy it and to love it. You know, it's one of those things, the restaurant business can make you or break you. The hours are extremely long. You don't get to spend time with your family a lot. You know, it's very demanding. But that community involvement, the things that we did at the restaurant, whether it was poetry or whether it was live entertainment, things like that, and just seeing like the smiles on people's faces every day, it definitely made it all worthwhile. So zoning wise, we didn't have too many issues because it was already the building was old. It was built, I think, in like 1800 and something, maybe 1900. So a lot of things were already grandfathered in.
Okay.
So we didn't have to go through a lot. I can't really say we had any complications. I think the most was probably when we decided to do the valet. That was a huge thing because, of course, we were on Main Street across from the theater. So there's traffic on Main Street. And so we kind of had to fight to get that. And then our patio, that was another big thing that we kind of fought about. I think some people down the street, like who actually lived in the Schuster Center, they complained about it, which was kind of weird to me. But all in all, it ended up working out pretty well. So
yeah, thank you for sharing that. B, I want to switch over to your industry and hair care, right? And talk about like your experience with working with the process of making sure that you have the permits, and how did you identify the location? Did you have a business plan? Was this always in your plans to open up a hair care service and business?
Well, for me, it was definitely for me a really big thing about the experience and the community and connecting with, women. And now we actually have, men and children, and things have expanded. But, for me, it came from a passion of just wanting to connect with people.
Okay.
But I am a very, I don't know, I love getting reports together. I love writing grants. So I definitely did a business plan, which really helped me when I pivoted. So a lot of the things that I, wanted to do as far as the boutique were very similar with the salon. I agree. I echo what everyone else said about having advocates. For me, it was definitely my husband,
Okay.
him being a business owner himself, a small consultant firm. He just had such a wealth of knowledge and was able to, really, we were able to hold hands through the entire process and, just doing research, reading. So, it wasn't too challenging. The biggest thing was location, finding an appropriate space. We had an unfortunate situation where we couldn't do the salon in our current space. And that was actually quite a barrier in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of story behind that. But, at the same time, I was constantly and even when I was in that location, I was always thinking of other locations. The Oregon District was something that I had always had in mind, but it's really difficult to get into the Oregon District without relationships. So, I had asked around. I live down over here, so I'm really fortunate in that respect. And so just continuing a conversation with a property owner and just checking in and just building a relationship, having coffee, just, it really is about connecting with someone. Owning a building can be a really personal experience. It's not always about the bottom line necessarily for that property owner, especially in Dayton. I find that there's a lot of property owners who, they have a vision too. They're often in it similarly, like as a small business for community, or, they have an idea of what they want in that business just to add to the street and things. So it definitely was a conversation. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So I want to ask Mr. Tremayne a question because I want to get his perspective. He is originally from Dayton, but then he left and relocated to Nashville, Tennessee, and he came back to the city of Dayton. So, Tremayne, can you talk about your experience? Did you find that the city itself was welcoming to you and helping you create and build your business? And then I would like for the ladies to chime in on that question as well. And again, listen, this is not formal, so please chime in if you have a question or some insight or opinions about something. Please, by all means, just jump right on in. We're playing pepper dust.
Well, thank you for that, Shenise. To answer your question, I do feel as though that the city of Dayton has been receptive to our organization's outreach offerings, if you will. Obviously, I have advocates here within the city, even being gone for 20 plus years, still very much connected, with family, friends, business owners, so I'm abreast, if you will, as to, some of the political dwellings, if you will, within the city. So, it helps me to know how to navigate from a business perspective. So it was definitely, open arms. I mean, even to the point to where, again, they were offering, I don't want to say insider information, but insight as to, again, how we could help, the business flourish, and expand its outreach. And coming from, a more prosperous metropolitan area like Nashville, Tennessee, I definitely saw opportunities right away. The opportunities were more glamorous, I should say, or, glimmering, if you will, here in Dayton, Ohio, than in Nashville, Tennessee, whereas Nashville is a melting pot of, of cultures, and they welcome entrepreneurship. They welcome, small business owners, and obviously resources are made available and afforded to those small business owners so that they can become successful. I moved to Nashville, like I said, 20 plus years ago. And one thing that I learned growing up in Dayton, Ohio, and then relocating there for college, and then obviously, for career purposes, is that the pace of the city at that time was fast enough, such that you could keep up, but then also slow enough such that you could get ahead if you had business savvy about you. And Dayton, Ohio definitely breeds that, just to be truthful.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think it's absolutely right. I think the nice thing about the city of Dayton is the access. You meet somebody, and like B was saying, it's all about relationships. You build that relationship, and like I have a friend who's got a property up in Huber that they had a zoning question on, and I emailed my friend at the city, and he was so helpful. And he's like, I don't know anybody there, but X, Y, and Z. So I think that's a great thing about Dayton is that it is accessible. But you do have to build those relationships.
Right.
Absolutely. And to that point, even though they welcome entrepreneurship in Nashville, Tennessee, it's like you're not your contact to, that resource or that advocate is not going to be as prevalent. It's not going to be as close. You're going to have to go through more layers, whereas here in Dayton, Ohio, those layers may be thin.
I was going to say, just to add on to that, I feel like in Dayton, I always say this, it's not like, they always say 6 degrees of separation. It's like 2 degrees of separation.
That's right.
So they are here. Like everyone knows everyone. It's just, yeah. So definitely, for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything to add to that, Jasmine?
Definitely. Once we started and we got into our, say, probably like our 5th year, and then I started venturing out and building different relationships with the other restaurant owners in Dayton, and just knowing that, Dayton has a lot of female restaurant owners, and I don't think a lot of people, they realize the importance of that. But I know once we got in, and like I said, we started building more relationships, it's the only thing is, it's like you still have to train Dayton, because Dayton is still a little bit behind than the big city. So you have someone who may live, 10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes from downtown. And it's like, you still have to teach them that downtown is safe, that downtown is an okay place to go to, that there's things to do. Most of you guys on here know that I'm a big social media person, and I post a lot of things that I do because I love my city, and I'm always trying to get people to step out of the box, especially people of color, and to get out and do different things. Like I'm a big artsy person. I love going to the art museum. I'm excited that they're open right now. I love eating great food. And if anybody knows me, I love supporting local restaurants. And I can post a restaurant 10 minutes or 15 minutes away from here. And then it just amazes me how I can get, 3 or 4 different people in my inbox, and they're like, hey, well, where is this restaurant at? And I'm like, in the Oregon district or over here or such and such. And they're like, I've never seen this restaurant. And yet this restaurant may be celebrating 8 years or 10 years, of being in existence. So with that being said, Dayton is still a city that is still far behind. And I feel, as an entrepreneur, I do have a duty to per se train some of the people here to teach them that it's okay to step outside of the box. You don't have to stay on Salem Avenue and find, food down here. And, there are really good restaurants, that serve really good food around here. So, and even with supporting other businesses, I always try to buy local as much as I can, as opposed to going to a big store and buying things. So, I'm a big advocate for women owned, for locally owned. I really think that's something that we need to focus on. But I do believe that during, this whole pandemic, it has strengthened our community. I mean, we had a lot of stuff going on in our community even before the pandemic, with the shootings, with the tornadoes, and it was nice to see our community actually pull together, because we are a very segregated city,
Right.
And it's very obvious, and a lot of people, they don't like to talk about it, but I always talk about it because I have 2 children. And it's something that was always talked about in our household, and it's very prevalent today. So, I feel like if we can just, continue that bond of working together and establishing connections, then we can be a really, really strong city, especially with the things like I live over in Wright Dunbar now, and I see, builders over here consistently. They're coming over, they're buying that property, but then you have certain people and they're like, oh, well, this demographic of people are coming over and buying up the neighborhood, and they're doing this and they're trying to gentrify this. And I'm like, well, if you want people to stay in the neighborhood and tear the neighborhood down and keep trash in it, then, you're not part of the the solution. And it's like, I welcome anyone who's going to come in, clean up the neighborhood, make it presentable, where kids can play, where we can come and shop, we can have a safe place to, be at, and you feel safe and you feel secure. I walk around this neighborhood all the time, and it's funny because my mom asked me the other day, because I have my gun license, and she's like, do you carry your gun? And I was like, wow, what does that got to do with anything? And she was like, I don't know about this. She lives in Huber Heights.
Okay.
I'm like, Mom, it's not what you think. It really
no, exactly.
It's not bad. The only thing I'm scared of are dogs.
There you go. You might run into a pit bull, but yeah.
That's about it. So,
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk about that a little bit. You touched on us being in some challenging times, and the global pandemic itself. And I just want to hear you all's perspective on any, because a lot of businesses, quite honestly, they had to close their doors. And you talked about, not necessarily panicking, but pivoting, and you touched on that, B. And so I want to know, what were some of the things that you all had to do to make sure that you keep your doors open so that you can, sort of say, reinvent yourself, given the times that we're in, with everyone being socially distant?
Yeah. For us, it was really important to try to just keep up the engagement, just keep up the, again, relationship, even if it's online and social media. And so, we did a couple things like a video and just some natural hair basics. We never did that before. I pivoted all the retail to online, which is something I was never interested in. And it's been a great learning experience. I still can't say that I'm in love with it. I do look forward to bringing it back into the space. We have yet to do that. And actually even possibly partnering with other business, just figuring out different ways to make it more, again, in the physical space. I'm just not an online retailer. It's a different game. But, honestly, with the hair care industry, I just feel like at that time, I feel people wanted to get their hair done. Honestly, that was the biggest thing with the demand.
Right.
Like, I wasn't even completely
make you feel
ready. Yeah, I wasn't completely ready to open up right away. I wanted to make sure we had all the safety protocols, and people were just like, ready to come get their hair done. Like I think, during this time, it's a great self-care moment. And so for us, it was really, we had to hire a new stylist, which we were so fortunate. I mean, we had been working on that for a long time, trying to find someone who wants to focus. We're so niche. Our whole thing is just natural hair, and we found someone really amazing in Asha, who's just, it's really just the values that we try to have: great customer service, great experience. We believe in people having nice things. So so for us, it's actually been like a kind of a growth time. We've been really fortunate in that respect. So it's just about being able to meet that demand. And so, that's what we're doing. We're trying to do right now. So, yeah.
Tremayne, Natalie, do you have anything to add? Considering the time that we're in with the global pandemic, did you have to pivot?
Yes, I would actually concur with B's comments. I mean, we had to do some strategic planning, as well, just to make certain that we, stayed afloat. I mean, obviously, overhead is controlled, so one necessarily, trying to deprive anyone of, the resources that they need to, continue to survive as well during the pandemic. But, recognizing, that, okay, the world is changing, but obviously, we still have to coexist. So what does that look like? And knowing what the organization's outreach consists of, how do we, basically, kind of parallel the change within, society to, our outreach so we can still be effective. Everything is going towards, virtual media, if you will, so, being able to facilitate training, which was previously done hands-on, in person, so now how can we facilitate that and still be effective? And make certain that, comprehension of the content is achieved, and again, our goals are still obtained. So, the strategic planning from that standpoint, along with partnering with other organizations, because I'm a firm believer in cooperative economics, so I'll take 1% of 100 people's efforts any day over 100% of mine, because obviously, by design, you're going to give me more than 1%, so we're going to win anyhow. So just seeing how you can leverage those relationships during this downtime, if you will, which was going to foster growth, once everyone got comfortable with, again, what today is going to look like, amidst the pandemic and, this revised economy, if you will. So, I mean, a lot of growth, a lot of changes, definitely some successes have come as a result, but I mean, still find that, we're in alignment with the business plan, so opportunity to go back and just refine and define.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Because I really want to touch on that. You talk about cooperative, and we have Gym City that's coming online. Soon will be open their doors, and you're a part of the West Dayton Space Makers, which they have a cooperative model as well. So is that the new framework that we're dealing with? Because it is my belief, and one of the platforms that we're raising during our candidacy is the fact that we want our central business district to be, to your point, Natalie, to be thriving, to have a successful city. But we know that there needs to be a balance in doing so. But with that, do we look at opportunities to make sure that people have the resources, that they're able to compete for those larger development dollars, or just having the resources available? And so we speak to having not only the advocates and the coaches, but the funding streams, because it takes the money, like you said, to start the business. So do you all have any thoughts on that in terms of like that cooperative model in place that we're seeing now that's starting? And we're late on it. Jasmine, you touched on it. We're very late on it. But I feel like it's catching fire now in Dayton.
It definitely is. I mean, even with, with the food hall per se that's about to open here in Wright Dunbar, it's a collective of small businesses together, and you see it, of course, like in a mall setting or, for the most part. But when you go to big cities, they do have, food halls. Is something that it works, and it's been working for a really long time. So to bring this here and bring it to, you know, not just the suburbs, but to bring it to the actual west side of Dayton is something that's really, really big. And I'm hoping and praying that when, you know, other entrepreneurs, when they come in to see this, that they, you know, see the importance of working together. And also, you know, with the things that Tate Winston is doing down here in Wright Dunbar, you know, she started off, you know, with a really big dream, and it was like it spread like wildfire. Now
Yeah,
she's about to
absolutely.
open
Shout
up
out to
the
Kay.
third store.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it shows you that, you know, we can work together, and that working together, we all win,
There
you
you go.
know. And the one thing that I'm hoping that catches on even more so now is that, because I see a lot of women in Dayton, you know, we see this big surge of, you know, women entrepreneurship. I'm not seeing enough men entrepreneurship. So I don't know like what outlets, you know, maybe we can all network together to, you know, even bring something to the men to help them to get where they need to be, because, you know, we have this whole persona now that women don't need men, and that's not the truth,
That
you
is
know.
true,
It
right?
is so not the truth right now, but that's what's being shown, or that's how some of the men are feeling, because we've been having to step into, you know, the breadwinner role right now. And just so happened that the pandemic, it works out for, you know, more women owned businesses right now. But with me in the food hall, right now I'm the only woman that's in there. So
Oh,
the
wow,
rest of the
okay.
businesses are owned by men. I think there's Illy's Pizza, they're a husband and wife,
My team.
you
Okay.
know. But for the most part, it's men inside of there. And for me, that's exciting,
Yeah.
you know, because it's showing, you know, young men on west side of Dayton that, you know, they can come in and look at someone that looks like them and know that, hey, I don't have to do this. I don't have to be in the streets. I
That's right.
can't do, you know, I can't have my own business. And it's cool to have my own business and to work for myself. So, you know, I think there has to be some type of bridge that, you know, that connects, you know, for the men, because we're always like, oh, the women and the women and the women. But right now, I feel like the men they do need help with certain things, as far as like business wise, from what I'm seeing in our community. So,
Okay. Thank you for that. So I want to ask Natalie, please, do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, just like what Jasmine's doing, what Tay is doing, I think that is like the model of the future,
Okay.
because it lifts everybody up. It gives
Right.
everybody an opportunity. You know, like what I found opening my business is people were like, "Where's your experience?" And I was like, "I run other people's business. I have my own." And the type of place that Jasmine's doing, like, it gives people like a small scale where they can test something out, and then, you know, prove yourself to the powers that be.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I did this. Now I'm gonna do more. So I think that is the future, and I think that's beautiful. And whatever the city can do to support that, I think is the future of our community.
Yeah. I agree. And I will say, I'm sorry, Lee, excuse me. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I just want to jump in a little bit about the West Side Makerspace, and you know, that's a co-op model, and you know, I love these businesses that are so focused on community, and I think at the core it's a lot about experience too. It's just how, like, you know, just bringing that kind of like connecting with people is just going to be huge. So I think that's also a big part of it as well, is that these are spaces that just get things activated and we just bring community together. So with Westside Makerspace, it's all about providing tools and equipment that can help people make things. And
Right.
so, yeah, they could broaden their business, but they could also learn skills that they can bring to their own community, whether it's like fixing their house or fixing a property they buy. So there's just things to learn. So I think that kind of, those sort of things that help people learn and kind of build around in their, you know, in their space or where they're living, their neighborhood is going to be really big. And it's the same thing with, like, you know, what Tay's doing, that idea of starting off small and those businesses that can grow and take over an empty space in their neighborhood, like a retail space or something like that. So yeah.
I do believe, honestly, that is the answer to our economic recovery is through our small businesses. And so we have to find that means in a way. to make sure that we are encouraging more of it in the city of Dayton, and that we are eliminating any barriers that may be in place. Let's talk about the elephant in the room in regards to, and you touched on it, Jasmine, and I want to hear Mr. Tremayne's his perspective on that, with there being such a large pool of women entrepreneurs and small business owners. And, I want to hear your perspective, Mr. Tremay, but I also want to hear B and Natalie's perspective if they ran into any challenges. And I know a lot of you were husband and wife team starting off, but did you find that you had more success when you had your partner on your side, or when there was conversation and just alone by yourself, that people kind of brush you off? And talk about any of those barriers that you faced as a woman entrepreneur, considering that your husbands are a part of your business.
Okay, well, from our perspective, I'm definitely. I'm sorry.
No,
was it time for me to jump in?
Yeah,
was I overzealous? Okay, well, at least from my perspective, and I'll be short. I applaud all of your efforts as female entrepreneurs. Primarily because I know your strength is measured by different variables than that of a man. And, with the gentlemen, that exists here, within Montgomery County, west side of Dayton, they lack, hope to some degree. They've been stripped of their power to some degree. Obviously very prideful, which is the reason why we have a lot of outbursts. But with that being said, in concert with the Wesley Dayton Community Center, we're actually working on leadership programs, to help, again, reestablish the identity, of, not just the Black man, but just males in general, help them to, understand who they are, what exists within, so that you know what you're entitled to by way of the Creator. And with that being the case, you should know what you're capable of. And then it's just a matter of walking in it. Yeah. Because I obviously growing up in Dayton, I was faced with some of the same, hurdles, obstacles, pitfalls, brick walls, but at the end of the day, we all have our own pain to deal with. We all got, our own priorities, but at the same token, we all have choices to make. So we can't use that as an excuse for it not having, basically.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was going to say, I don't know if this is really cutting to the core of your question, but something that's been on my mind a lot is, especially, I think we're talking about barriers, and I don't know if this is particularly like gender specific, but I do find, for me, I was really fortunate because I mentioned that I love writing grants and writing and stuff, but it can be very, it's time consuming, a lot of paperwork, and I have seen and experienced from other small businesses that that's really difficult for them, like that they don't have either the skill set, the time. So that's something to consider just about, how we support small businesses and the kind of applications we create. And also just the metrics that are for some of these grants, there's grants that are like, I think I can't remember which one specifically, but it like the metrics were it was for diversity, Black owned businesses, but they had to be making at least $100,000, and I'm like, that's I don't know if I can name a lot in Dayton that are making that kind of money, so just kind of, and then just the way they want to do numbers, and I understand grants they have to know what their impact is, especially if they're a nonprofit. They have things that they have to show, but sometimes I question, what they're deciding is impact and what is really going to help that, especially if they're gender specific or, race specific, if it's for Black owned businesses. I think they need to start rethinking on how they write those grants and what they expect and what the outcomes for that business are supposed to be. So I think that's really important. And also just the numbers too. I mean, I've seen grants that are really too tiny, frankly, and there's a lot of demand on the people to get like a couple grand, which, that what can that do? And then you've spent all this time, like they want you to appear on a show or and it's just too much. And I think, and also there's a lot of pitch competitions happening in the area. I don't think those are fair. I don't think they're helpful. I don't think you should ask your small businesses to perform. Time is money, and I think we need to be respectful of people's time and really actually give them the support, a one-on-one meeting, connecting them with a resource, connecting them with a property owner. Those are the sort of things I'd like to see, and I think those are barriers for a lot of small businesses.
Exactly. And hence the reason why we're running for Dayton City Commission, because you're absolutely right. We want to close that gap and eliminate those barriers to give people the opportunity and the access so that they can thrive and be, productive and help the Dayton City Commission, Dayton in its entirety grow, right? So I believe, Natalie, you had something to add. Did you want to speak to that?
Not really. I just like everything Bethany said. Yes, all of those things.
There you go.
All right. Yes. So, Jasmine, can you talk about just like transitioning from the restaurant business to the food truck? Do you find it more accessible? Is it
It's really different. It's funny because I feel like the businesses that I have acquired, I always start at the end and then work myself backwards, which is really strange. So with the food hall, it's a little bit different. So with the restaurant, I stayed open for 2 more years after my husband passed, and it just became overwhelming. I had over 12 rental properties. Both my kids were still in high school, and I was trying to juggle all of that by myself. And it just became too much. And I was like, and then on top of that, the building had got sold. I knew my lease wasn't going to be renewed again because they were turning it into a hotel. And so it was one thing. When I actually closed for my son. My son came one day. We were on the phone and we were texting. He was on the RTA coming home from school, and he typed me this text, and he was like, I feel like I'm depressed, and I feel like I've been going through the motions the whole year long. And my heart crushed. It dropped. And I was scheduled to go out of town in 2 weeks. So I closed my restaurant for a month. And when I came back, I realized that, I don't even want to finish out the rest of the year for my lease. I just want to be home with my kids. So that part was really easy for me. It was so easy for me to close. And then when the pandemic came, I started to sell egg rolls because it was just an opportunity where Tay had asked me down at the marketplace, and I was like, I don't know. And it turned into something that was very profitable, and it was easy for me to do. I still had time to be with my kids, and do things with them where they were older, of course, now. But I got my food truck at the end of August of last year. And when I got it from a guy in Columbus who builds food trucks. And I got there and he was like, have you ever driven a truck like this? I was like, no. He said, have you ever worked on a food truck? I was like, no. Have you ever been on a food truck? I was like, no. So it was like, I'm one of those people. It's like, if I have an idea about something and I want to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, no matter what, like, and I'm going to figure it out. So that was one thing. And then I learned everything on that truck. Like, I can say that there's not been one person who's driven my truck besides me since I've had it. I'm just real finicky about that, but
it's your baby.
It's because it's my baby. Absolutely.
Right.
But as far as work, I tell people, like, don't think that you're just going to get on a truck and you're going to start cooking and it's just going to be amazing. You're going to make thousands of dollars. It doesn't work like that. It's still hard work. You still have to prep a lot. You still have to make sure you have enough gas in your generator. Make sure you have enough propane in your tank. Because when you start cooking and all of a sudden your stuff is going out and you're like, what's going on? And you're like, oh, we didn't get any propane. So I mean, it's different things. It's a very different aspect. It is fun. It's exciting. I love seeing people's space that I used to see in the restaurant,
Right,
you
yeah.
know, being community driven, you know, being in different areas, that's always, you know, fun. And you still get that instant gratification because you still get to see people eating your food and, you know, them telling you or, you know, sending you a message like, hey, this is some really good food. So it's all that part, it makes it all worth it, you know, but it definitely was a transition to, you know, learning how to do a lot of different things, you know, within a small space. Our kitchen at Delish was probably one of the smallest kitchens in the city of Dayton. Anyway, so
Made it work, right?
it was just like, you know, cramming it all together on a truck now. And it's like, oh, okay. And then realizing, you know, what you're good at and what you can and what you can't do on the truck. Like people assume that, hey, you're going to be driving down the street and they see you stopped at a stoplight and they're like, hey, can I get some food? What do you have to eat? And I'm like, I'm not cooking and driving. Like, it doesn't work like that. You know, so and then the fact that you can't put everything on your menu. Like, I don't know how some of these trucks have 20 items on their menu because I can't do it. Like, it's a lot of work. And you know, people, they just see the monetary part of it and they don't see the hard work because it gets
Yeah,
pretty
that's
hot
the
on
main
those
thing.
trucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it definitely was a transition, but it was a fun transition.
There you
Definitely
go.
a fun transition. But I'm excited to be into this food hall and to not really have to do as much as I'm doing right now because I like being able to, you know, kind of pass the ball and let people do what they're good at and let them shine in their perspective and me just kind of, you know, sit back and just kind of, you know, say here or there or whatever and dictate.
Direct.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So I know we're coming to our hour. Again, I want to thank each of you for your time and just all that you're doing in the city of Dayton and your commitment. I know it's labor intensive, but again, it's people are just rewarded by the service that you provide. So keep at it. But I want to give you the opportunity, any last words that you want to share with anyone about just whatever's on your heart and your mind about being a small business owner. And again, speak to some of the challenges, the opportunities, the future. You can even throw a plug in about your business and what you have in the future endeavors.
Well, I guess just in closing, from my perspective, you know, for everyone out there listening, I would encourage you to not be afraid of filling out the paperwork, you know, because that is going to, you know, block your blessings in terms of, you know, you being in position to receive all the paper, you know, that you are seeking and that you're entitled to receive, you know. So sometimes that can be, you know, our own Achilles heel, if you will.
Mm. And so how do you find out more about your organization, please?
Well, if you'd like to learn more about the Be Love Foundation, you can go to our website at www.belovefirst, the letter B, LOVEFIRST.org, and find out all about our outreach programs, our outreach events within the community. You know, we love your support. We welcome donations via the website as well.
All right. And now I know you mentioned the partnership you have with the Dayton Wesley Center. Is that up and coming soon, or is that on the line for? You know?
Actually, per the center, we're actually just waiting on the funding to be released so that we can begin facilitation of our workforce development program, which is, you know, going to be all inclusive, offering OSHA 10 certifications, first aid CPR certifications, forklift area work platform certifications, behavior awareness training, job readiness training as well, again, with the efforts to basically propel these individuals back into society as employable citizens.
Great. Wonderful. Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. We have students who are graduating from high school. We have a number of brothers and sisters who are returning home. So yes, we need to get people acclimated and get them reacclimated.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad to hear that. And please, let's make sure we keep in contact.
Absolutely. We certainly will.
Yes. So Ms. Ramsey, please be.
So, if anyone wants to check out my specific small business, it's puffapothecary.com. So you'll see, how to schedule an appointment, some of our work, things that we do. We even have a blog where we write about natural hair. I did want to mention a side project and venture I've been working on. It's called Understory Ventures, and it's actually specifically about supporting Black-owned businesses.
Wonderful.
And so we are, interested in supporting small Black-owned businesses that definitely have a excuse me. I was going to say, and I'm really kind of appealing to people who want to help support other small Black-owned businesses. If you are someone that wants to connect and start helping these businesses, if you're happen to be a donor, investor, reach out to me. Been doing some work. We've actually worked with Tay, and it's been really a great experience, and we're really happy with the result of her coming downtown and having her third space. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's definitely a lifelong passion for me to support other small
We have to shout out What's the Biz with TJ, right?
Yes. I mean, yes, Tejal is definitely working with us, and What's the Biz is definitely like an instrumental part of what we're doing and the businesses that we're finding to help support. And she's amazing because the work she does, she's always finding all the Black-owned businesses. She did like 100 Black-owned businesses on her Instagram. So yeah, she's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah. Natalie.
So my business, Corner Kitchen, is closed. Right now. It's indefinite though. So the plan is to reopen. And I think something that I've learned and continue to learn, and hopefully will continue to learn for the rest of my life, is that things can change and should change. And this past year, I think we've all evaluated our systems and thought, this doesn't work for me. And I don't know why I did to begin with, just because that's what we've always done, and it doesn't work. And I think that we're seeing that in our government, and I think that we're seeing that in our businesses and in our personal life. And so I think we have the opportunity to rethink the way that we operate. And I think that that's, I'm so glad you're running, and
thank you.
I hope everybody votes for you, because I think that just there's so much positive that has come out of this really terrible, tragic thing. And I think that we need to just continue to change and progress. And I think that's what we're doing with our business. We decided to close because it didn't serve us. And because of my networks, B's husband hired me, and I'm working in the Oregon district still. And and the idea about community is just all so important. And I'm just so grateful for Dayton and for the people in it. And I'm just really looking forward to what's next, and something that I hope it looks like nothing we've seen before.
Yeah,
and I hope it looks integrated and, progressive. So
yeah, definitely. Well, we will say thank you. Corner Kitchen was an awesome place, wonderful food. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your support. And certainly last but not least, but before I go to you, Jasmine, I want to say that we lost Miss Juanita Darden. I know she was actually in the process of having another engagement, and our schedules kind of conflicted. So, but nonetheless, we check out Miss Juanita Darden, Third Perk, and we're very excited about her opening up her new site in the market. So we should be hearing when the opening will take place soon. And then also, I want to make sure that we give a shout out to Miss Regina Johnson with LadyBug Services. Unfortunately, she was unable to join us. However, we will make sure that she comes back at another date and time to be a guest on our show, because she is extraordinary, as well as you all.
She is awesome.
Yeah, she provides a well-needed service in the city of Dayton, and again, we want to make sure we give her kudos and give her an opportunity to welcome her back. So there you are, LadyBug Services. So please, Jasmine, tell everyone where they can check you out and
Well, So we don't have a set schedule with the food truck yet. It's pretty much we're popping up at a lot of the festivals. I know we're going to have some dates down at the
You will be, you'll be May 16, right, at the food.
I won't be there.
Okay.
I'm actually coming as a customer that day. As a customer. So
you don't have to do that. You are allowed.
Yes, I just sometimes you want to just enjoy things and and it works out where you can enjoy those things. So but throughout the summer, definitely catch us. Our Facebook page, I just transferred it and made it to our food truck page. So it's still Delish Cafe, but it is our food truck page now. And I will be posting probably after next week once I do my inspection, where we're actually going to be at. I try to go to Trotwood out there in Lowe's, a couple times a week on the weekend. And then, like I said, downtown, I'll be downtown at a lot of different businesses, festivals. I know Juanita and I were talking about a couple things, me popping up at her location. So that's one of those collaborations that, even when I was downtown, that we we always work together. We had our little downtown Browns where, absolutely, it's a thing when, you find people who are hardworking like you and they actually care about the community. It makes, running business a whole lot easier. So I know for me, I'm so excited about you running, and I've seen you run several times. And, Ryan McLean and I were having a conversation yesterday about you, and, she was referring to you and saying how you reminded her of Dean Lovelace and how you're a fighter, and we need someone like that right now that represents us, our community, our city, and that's going to actually fight for us. So I personally am excited, for you running. And I just wanted to say thank you, because I know it takes a lot to do that, because I had been asked a couple of times by certain people to run in different positions, and I was like, I said, I may be a little popular. People may know me, but that's not my area of expertise. So I'm good at supporting. Like, my biggest thing is support. Like, everyone knows I'm a huge supporter of all Dayton businesses. I've been here all my life, and I just really, I'm excited to see our city actually change and turn around for the best. So
yeah. I really echo that in terms of what you said, in terms of our city. You're starting to see a change, and I believe that's in the air. Like, the energy is definitely there, and I know I've had personal conversations with each of you about just that the energy seems right. The timing is there, and people are really giving voice to issues, and they want to see something different, and this is the time for that. So it's one of the few things that have been positive out of the pandemic. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you very much for your time and lending your gifts and your talents to the city of Dayton. At it, and we know how we can support you and your future endeavors, and whatever it is that you need from me. I'm just a phone call, text away. So again, I really appreciate each and every one of you. So we want to say thank you to the Dayton community for joining us for another episode of Like It Is Dayton. Make sure you check us out on the second and fourth Thursday of each month. Shout out to Blaqsage and all of the work that they're doing. The production and the engineer couldn't do this without you. So thank you very much. Again, check us out on Facebook and YouTube. You can drop us an email or a phone call, whatever it is. If you have an idea of the topic or a guest that you would like to see on the show, please, by all means, drop us a line. Thank you very much for joining us. Everyone take care. Peace.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Cash It's hard to look at Dayton and not see it. Some say it's the river, some say it's the color of your skin, and others measure it in dollars. There are those in power, and there are the rest of us fighting to be heard. To see it isn't hard. You look downtown, pristinely swept, new housing and development being built with subsidies of our tax dollars. Then you drive around in neighborhoods on the other side of the river and look at the missing windows, the burnt out shells, the unkept grass, the pothole streets, the lack of shops, the lack of services, the lack of safety, the lack of opportunity. The divide is real. When the house next to yours burns, it stays. That's why I chose to run, to put neighborhoods over politics, to work for the people who have been passed by, the one whose voices aren't heard, no matter how many times we say we have had enough. The divide is wide. It's been growing wider, deeper. This time, it's your turn to cross the divide, to move Dayton forward, to becoming a stronger, vibrant city that works for all, where there are services, opportunity, and safety that we all deserve. When you choose your next Dayton City Commissioner, it's time to choose one that's going to work for you, for the people, to cross the divide and to heal our city. I'm Shenise Turner-Sloss, and it will be an honor to serve as your next Dayton City Commissioner.